Aloha guys, this is Tiggy Maximus back in the flesh. This is episode 243 of the Tiggy Maximus Talks podcast on Spotify and YouTube. I'm glad you guys still listening, watching this podcast, and on this episode, I kind of want to review one comedy show. It was a place out in Pacific Beach. The show was produced by Eddie Wiedmann, and show was on October 24th, actually. Great venue, and I believe it was I guess it was called like Pacific Beach Under the Sun, or Comedy Under the Sun, or Laughs Under the Sun. And the show was the first of its kind, and the show basically was lineup of comedians. Eddie was hosting. Mike Diamond was the headliner. Eddie Wiedmann and Mike Diamond do work together. Great collaboration when it comes to comedy. And of course you have the DJ, DJ Waves. DJ Wavy Sound. I think that's what her name was. I think she's the girlfriend of Eddie Wiedmann. And DJ Wavy Sounds actually does sell sunglasses. Mostly sunglasses for women. But the venue also was like very wide open, and they do sell wine on the spot. So wine, sunglasses, comedy, and this was a fun venue because it's very wide open. You don't feel like too close, scooched in, crowded in by anybody. Very wide open space, and it's in Pacific Beach off of Turquoise Street. Great venue. You could do a lot of events there. You could do a movie night, but this particular night, I was invited by Eddie Wiedmann. The show started with Eddie Wiedmann hosting. Got some of his usual jokes about being in the police force, and again, now that I've seen Eddie like quite a few times now, this crowd really loves a lot of the jokes that he said on stage. His stuff about the police is pretty funny though. I think the best one where he talked about how he doesn't get a bonus if he were to arrest anybody, and I guess the part where he doesn't know if the person is a good guy or a bad guy, victim or suspect or victim. So I really like his stuff. Eddie Wiedmann, I want to say he was a 8.6 out of 10. Next, I believe we have Shar Rampton. She had her usual jokes, talking about obstacle courses, but she did some crowd work because apparently there was a guy who was temporarily handicapped. And Shar was trying to figure out why he's wearing a cast, and I guess eventually we're trying to get a story out of the guy with the cast, but that kind of became one of the focal points of her set. Um, but you know, she did pretty well, and the crowd was getting quite used to her set after a few minutes, and but you know, she did pretty well with the crowd. Um, a lot of laughs. Um, and you know, I want to say that Shar was 8.4 out of 10. Um, then we have Dante Cordova, and Dante pretty much um, kind of told us about his dating history, and apparently, I guess guys are better at blowjobs than women, and that became a topic, and that kind of got the crowd into it a little bit. So Dante did pretty well. Um, I want to say he was 8.5 out of 10 for his comedy. And then we had Colton Harpy. The interesting thing about Colton Harpy is that when he tried to do crowd work right off the bat, and he was trying to figure out that there were a lot of handicapped people or injured people um, at this event, and that somehow kind of set a weird tone for his set. And um, and as he was trying to get to know the crowd with his crowd work, um, there were some laughs during his set, but I think just the way that the crowd work didn't like go so smoothly to start off his comedy set, so it was a little bit off, and I guess the crowd wasn't ready for crowd work right off the bat, especially that type of crowd work. My thought was that maybe do it somewhere in the middle of his set, um, maybe just to kind of get used to his comedy, and then like kind of pause during the set to kind of do some crowd work, and then go back to his jokes again. Maybe that might have been the right course of action, but maybe just something about the crowd and his crowd work just didn't mesh. So, I mean, a lot of times, you know, when he does crowd work, he usually does pretty well. And I've seen it do pretty well at most other places like Comedy Store, The Yellow Door, Mic Drop. Um, but in this particular instance, in a wide open space, I guess it didn't catch on, you know, and that kind of thing kind of sets the tone for the rest of your set, and then you got to work your way through trying to get people behind you while you're doing your 10, 15, 20 minutes or something. So, but Colton Harpy, I want to say it was probably, 7.9 out of 10 for his comedy. Um, and then we got to our headliner, Mike Diamond. He told about him being engaged, talked about dating. Um, um, and then he kind of went into stuff like abortion, Trump. Um, I think there was like a question of, or was it $5 million, $5 billion or something? Would you give a blowjob for, what was it, 5 minutes, 3 minutes or something? I would never raise my hand to it because I probably couldn't give a blowjob. But, I guess Mike Diamond, for that kind of money, I think he would be doing it. And he would let us know he would. But yeah, he did a great job. Got the crowd laughing throughout most of his set. Um, I want to say that Mike Diamond's comedy was, um, let's say 8.9 out of 10. So overall, good night of comedy for the most part. And then um, I think I had like a non-alcoholic drink. Uh, it might have been Liquid Death, but with a certain flavor. I think mine might have had pineapple or something. Pineapple or blueberry or something like that. So, but overall, if the show happens again at that spot on Turquoise Street in Pacific Beach, I wouldn't mind going again. Good lineup, good overall experience. I would go. So let's get into. There was a food place I got to try out actually recently. It's called the Asian Bistro, and it's in, I want to say North Park. It's off of 30th Street and University Avenue, or close to El Cajon Boulevard, around there. So I went in there. I tried out their bulgogi gyoza. Those are some good gyozas. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them. I had that before I had my egg noodle shrimp wonton with duck, and I had hot tea, chamomile, and I got a I believe it was I want to say, I think I got a Thai tea from there. Um, I think it was a special Thai tea, but yeah. Um, the um, bulgogi, gyoza. So those were served pretty hot, and I gotta say, um, it tasted pretty good. It was 8.8 out of 10. I would recommend it, and I would also recommend to eat like maybe half of it. Eat half and let it cool, and then um, eat the other half. So next I had the egg noodle shrimp wonton with duck meat. I actually had to add duck, and the duck was very soft. It tears away pretty easily, and the shrimp wontons were pretty good. Give you quite a bit, and the broth, you can do it as pho broth as opposed to the normal chicken broth. So that was a good choice by me, and the pho broth was pretty good with the egg noodle and the shrimp wonton and the duck meat. So it was a good meal. I want to say that was a 9 out of 10. I recommend that to anybody as well. There are other stuff I want to try on there, so I'm going to go back and going to try it out. So overall, great experience at Asian Bistro in North Park on University and 30th. Last time I talked to you guys, I guess Chargers, they're doing pretty well since they lost to the Colts, and they got some players back, but they still have some issues with the offensive line. So I think they beat the Minnesota Vikings on Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football. Wasn't even close. Um, and then ever since then, the Chargers beat the Tennessee Titans 27-20. Um, yeah, the Chargers kind of had to, put that game away. Um, you got Justin Herbert, Dicker the kicker. Um, in a sense, that game was a little tougher than we thought, but Tennessee does play well on defense, but their offense still needs a lot of work. I think they beat them 27-20. And then the Chargers beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 25-10. Sunday Night Football. Chargers pretty much kept Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers offense down for most of the game, and the Chargers kept getting a lot of field goals, and Vidal got to run in for a touchdown, and Justin Herbert did throw a touchdown pass to Ladd McConkey, and even the Chargers defense got a safety on Aaron Rodgers, so 25-10. Chargers are now 7-3. And next game they're gonna be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. It's a Sunday morning game. And then after this, the Chargers go on a bye week for Week 12. Right now, they are one game behind the Denver Broncos, who do have to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And if the Chiefs beat the Broncos and the Chargers beat the Jaguars, Chargers are back in first place again. Right now, the Chargers are the number 5 seed in the AFC West playoff picture. But right now, they're only one game behind the number 1 seed. It's either the Denver Broncos or the New England Patriots. Who knew? Right now, I don't think those two teams are not that much better than the Chargers. Just happened to be at a time when the Chargers had some injuries, had to work through it. I'm guessing the other teams might have had an easier schedule, but the Chargers just kept working through it. Keep having a high octane offense with whatever they have. Offensive line will get better, but honestly, Chargers doing pretty well. And after the bye week, the Chargers do get the Vegas Raiders at SoFi Stadium, and so it's a good looking schedule for the Chargers. And I think the Chargers are going to play the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football at SoFi Stadium. That's coming up pretty soon. So, a lot of great stuff for the Chargers. Defense is getting pretty good. They got some guys back, like Khalil Mack. But yeah, the Chargers got to make sure that they got enough offensive linemen. They did trade for one. They traded with the New Orleans Saints, and they got a guy by the name of Pennington. He was a first-round offensive lineman picked by the Saints a couple years ago, and well, he gets to be on the Chargers, and he might work well with the Chargers, and didn't do so well with the Saints, and hopefully it turns out to be a good thing. So, go Chargers! San Diego FC. I gotta say, they got through the first round. They beat the Portland Timbers. They won the first one. I went to that game. They won 2-1. Exciting atmosphere. Game 2, San Diego FC had to go to Portland. And guess what? They were ahead 2-1 late in the game. It was like 8 minutes of stoppage time. And at some point they were going to call the game, but they allowed Portland to score the tying goal 2-2 in the 98th minute, and it actually went on for 12 minutes of injury time. they added more time because there were delays. And with that being the case, San Diego FC lost in the shootout. They lost 3-2. They were actually up 2-1 in the shootout, but they missed their last 3 kicks, and Portland was able to make 2 of their last 3, so they came back and beat San Diego, tied the series 1-1. So they had to go back to San Diego for Game 3, the decisive Game 3, and San Diego FC made sure they won the game. They won 4-0, quite a blowout. Now San Diego gets to host the Western Conference semifinals game against the number 4 seed Minnesota. So Minnesota is coming to Snapdragon Stadium on November 17th. So hopefully San Diego wins that one as the number 1 seed of the West, and if they do, they get to host the Western Conference Finals against maybe LAFC or Vancouver. That's the 2-3 matchup. So hopefully San Diego FC wins on Monday night. I'm going to be watching. Way to go, San Diego FC. Their first year, and they're already the number 1 team in the Western Conference. And the number 2 team overall of the Major League Soccer. That's pretty awesome. Well, guys, that's it for me. I need to go to a comedy show tonight at the Madhouse, and Alan Henderson is the headliner. Next episode, 244, I'm going to be talking about the UFC 322. Also, another comedy show, Insane Brewery, under the Cackles banner in Vista. And Alex Ibarra has his Cappy show. I'm going to talk about that. And maybe I might squeeze in Heather Marie's Privateer show with headliner Stephen Briggs. It was Heather's anniversary show. I think like 5 or 10 years at the Privateer, doing comedy there in Oceanside. So, a lot of great stuff, guys. Stay tuned. Hope you like this food review, comedy show review, and sports review of Chargers and San Diego FC. Alright, later, guys. Booyaka. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Baby. Alright, there, guys. Shama.